Hey YouTube, I know I haven't made a video in a while, so I'm going to talk about Apostille Work or Apostille Work. I'm heading up to the Secretary of State right now to drop off some documents, and I just want to share a little bit about that work. Of course, I've done other videos on Judi Lawrence and Matt Miller's book, which is an awesome book. So if you haven't checked that out, please check out that book, because that will give you knowledge that you need to do this work. And Judi actually has a course as well that goes in some depth there, and I recommend that to take that course. So I'm going to just share my thoughts. I'm not going to go into all the details of the work. Just share some experiences that I've had here that I shared earlier with some other people. So I want to say that this work can be very lucrative. It's not difficult to do. It's more paying attention to detail is where you need to be. If you're one to not pay attention to detail, this might not be the work for you. It's very, very important to pay attention to these things. And I'm talking about, if you're notarizing a document that needs to go to the Secretary of State, you need to double and triple check that, even though you may have done that 500 times in your life or more, because what comes down to it is the Secretary of State, if you're notarizing a document, they're certifying or authenticating your signature as a notary. And if you signed your application, or whatever document gets sent over to the Secretary of State, and you decide mid commission, hey, I don't like signing my name this way, I'm going to sign it a different way. Well, that's going to cause a problem to somebody that's taking their document that you notarized up to the Secretary of State, because they won't authenticate it. They'll say, well, that's not the signature of the notary, and they won't do it. And I actually had that happen to me. Not a document that I notarized, but it was a document that a lady had taken to the UPS store to have notarized, as several documents that were notarized. And I think it was I want to say it was 8 documents or something. And she calls me up, hey, I need the apostille put on these documents. I said, okay, no problem. I drive out to her place. It was like an hour drive to pick up these documents, so it wasn't a quick thing, So I go out there, look over the documents. I looked at the notary's certificate, make sure that all the elements were there, which they were. And she said, initially it was 3 documents. So I took all 3 documents up to the Secretary of State. They did the work. I took it, this was before COVID, so that meant that I drove it up to Sacramento and dropped it off, wait around for a few minutes, and then they give it back to you, and then you're on your way. So I returned those documents to her. Here you go, all your documents. Said, oh, I found out I have to do the other 5 documents or something. So I said, okay, no problem. I collect the money for those 5 documents, go up there, go to Secretary of State. Well, this go around, even though they were notarized by the same notary, the guy that was processing it said this signature doesn't match. So I'm like, so they go, okay, we have to give you your money back. I'm like, okay. So I said, so what what do I have to do? I have to drive back to this lady and re-notarize her signature and then come back up? And they go, no, you don't have to do that. You just have to go over here to the UPS store and you're the custodian, so you can just have your signature notarized. I'm like, okay. So anyway, that's a tidbit to know, okay? Because something that could happen, okay? So I had to go to the UPS store. I paid. If I remember correctly, it was like $105 or something, whatever that comes out to be. How many documents that is, what, you know, and to get it done at the Secretary of State. And you know, then I obviously had to charge the lady all that money because I wasn't going to be paying for, you know, the other notary's mistake on their signature or whatever. And so it ended up to be quite a bit of money. We got it done, but you know, just if you're going to act as the notary, which is awesome because you know what you're doing and you're not going to make a mistake for yourself, hopefully. And that's why I'm trying to impress upon you, double check and triple check your own work. Even if you've done it, I've been a notary for almost 6 years, and every time I go up to the Secretary of State, even though I notarized it and, you know, double and triple check the document while the person was sitting there, I'll check it again just to double check that I didn't miss anything, you know, just to verify that I did the process right. Because I don't want to get a letter back from the Secretary of State saying, hey, sorry, the notary didn't perform their notary duties correctly according to law, blah blah blah, whatever law that is. You know, I don't know off the top of my head, but you know, you just have to be aware of that. So I don't want that to happen, and I don't want that to happen to you either. So after you get confident and you're able, okay, I notarized properly, I checked it, everything, then you have to figure out, you know, what you're going to charge for this service, okay? And you know, it is open. You're not acting as notary. Obviously, the notary part's separate from the apostille agent work, okay? So as a notary, you're going to charge whatever your state allows you to charge for notary acts, and then if you are traveling to them, travel fees and whatever else extra services you're tacking on top of that. But that's separate than what it's going to take to go to your Secretary of State. Blast. But anyway, continuing on talking about pricing. So it's all open, of course, for pricing as an apostille agent. What I would suggest, though, when you're creating your pricing is to do some market research to find out what people are charging around you. You don't want to be the low guy, you don't want to be the high guy, you want to be the median guy, you want to be right in the middle or somewhere, you know, in between high and low, okay? So you could be a little higher than the median or a little lower than the medium, depending on where you want to be. How you want to kind of get a gauge, an idea, besides the fact that you're going to do your market research. You want to find out, you want to calculate how much it's going to cost you in hard expenses, what it's going to cost you to perform the service, okay? Like, you have the Secretary of State fees, okay? What that costs per document. You need to know what it's going to cost you in gas, what it's going to cost you in postage or shipping costs to get the documents to wherever they have to go, okay? So those things, you need to have an idea what it's going to cost you. And you can structure your pricing plan based on each one of those little things, and you can nickel and dime people and say, yes, it's with all this, it's going to be X amount of dollars, and then they pay it or whatever is going to happen there. They say yes or no, pay it or don't pay it, go to the next guy, whatever. So what I don't do that. I just have a flat fixed rate is how I do it. So for one document, I charge a little higher fee than subsequent documents, because if you think about it, if I have 5 documents and they're all going, and I'm driving all at the same time up there, why shouldn't I charge a little less for the other 4 documents? But if I have 1 document, yeah, I need to make it worthwhile for me to drive up to Sacramento. Okay? And I calculate that, you have to determine what you're worth, and you can kind of figure that out, how much you want to make per hour. But the thing is at the end of the day, this is a business, so you're not working on an hourly wage, right? So if you're doing a job, and let's just say you make $2 an hour as an owner to get the job done, then you make $2, okay? And hopefully you have a customer or a client for life that's going to keep coming back to you over and over and over, okay? Don't look at it like, well, I'm only making $2, I'm not even going to pursue this kind of work. Or take the thing like, price yourself so high that, hey, now I'm making $50 an hour, and I'm not getting any work because the other guy that's next to me, he's only charging $75 a document, and I'm up at $200 a document, or whatever. Okay, so you have to do your market research. You have to figure out be competitive, of course, and that's all I have to say about that. You have to come up with your pricing, obviously, and you can get an idea based on what other people are charging around you, if you're too low or too high. I'm the low guy, and I still don't get people. I still miss business, okay? And it's not necessarily good to be the low guy, because why is that? Because the low guy doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the best service. As a client, as a consumer, you're like, well, let's just talk computers, for example. When IBMs were out, you could buy an IBM or you could buy a clone. Well, you bought an IBM because of the name. They've been in business for X amount of years, It's like they have somebody to back that service up. So yes, I'll be willing to spend X amount more to have that support, that backing, okay? Versus some clone that you're gonna buy, oh great, and then when it breaks, you're like, who do you call? Well, this guy sold it to me, but he's out of business now. Oh, great. So then you're like, okay, now I have to either buy another computer from some other guy, or try and find somebody to fix it, or buy an IBM and then have that support, okay? So obviously I'm dating myself a bit talking about that, but anyway, the whole point is if you're doing this work and you're the low guy, people have this go through their mind, not necessarily on a conscious level, but a subconscious level, okay? So just take that into consideration when you do your pricing, okay? Let's talk about that the process, okay? So you notarize the document, you get the document prepared, you put everything together, your payment, the documents, There's a cover sheet for each Secretary of State that you're going to put there, and they ask you questions, where's the document going, and all this kind of stuff. So you get all that together, you bundle it in with your envelope that's going to be returned to either yourself or the client, your prepaid shipping envelope, and you drive to the Secretary of State. Okay, so I offer 3 levels of service, and this is where you can jack your prices up. The first is mail. Okay, if people aren't in a hurry and they're saying, yeah, I'll be happy to mail it if you mail it up to the Secretary of State and they mail it back. No problem. I'll do that for cheap, because it's costing postage, no time, and just the fees, So you do that, and I just let people know, yeah, no problem. You're probably going to be waiting for your document a couple months. Well, when you tell somebody that, they're like, well, I can't do that. I need it by next month. Oh, okay. Well, then you need a little faster service. Okay. So my standard service is we'll get you the documents 7 to 10 days. Okay. That's mailing it back from the Secretary of State. So I'm talking about today. Okay. At this time, during these times, it takes 7 to 10 days. You can check the timing on their website, Secretary of State, and they'll say it takes 3 to 5 days, like 3 days or 3 to 5 days to process a document. Okay, that depends. Okay, you have to check in California in particular. They might do this on other states. I just don't know, because I primarily do California authentications. They have on their website, hey, we're processing documents that were mailed in and we received them on this date, or if you dropped them off, we're processing documents that were dropped off on this date. Okay, so I'm looking there. I had somebody come yesterday. I'm going there today. I said, yeah, they're processing documents according to their website back on November 18th. It's now November 30th today. So we're a couple weeks behind. Do you think they're going to get that document in a week or something? Maybe, maybe not. But I had to tell them, here's what it says on the website. And we had Thanksgiving. They were closed on Thursday and Friday. That meant that they didn't process any documents last week. Okay? So you have to let people know you're probably going to wait a few extra days because of the holiday and whatnot. And then the other thing that they don't tell you is that, let's say Mondays, yesterday, after a holiday, they probably received a boatload of documents. Okay? And that means they're going to do it, that guy honked at me because he didn't like it that I passed him. I'm driving up Interstate 5 right now, so these truckers, they're two lane either direction, 2 lanes, and they stay in the right lane, and then they weave over to the fast lane all the time. Well, in every other state, you're supposed to stay in the slow lane and then just pass in the left lane. Well, in California, it doesn't work that way. Everybody you're always in the fast lane, So we don't really adhere to that rule or law saying you need to move over. So if you come to California, just be aware of that. If you're from another state, we don't do that. Okay. So anyway, we're bad drivers. Okay, so I could probably do a video on that too. Anyway, back to the Apostille Work. So I can't remember where I left off. So anyway, packaging, you drop all this stuff. Okay, coming back to the timing. So just let people know about when they're going to get it back. If they want it even faster, I can go up to the Secretary of State and pick that up for them when it's ready. So for example, they will call the Secretary of State. This is in California, obviously. They call and say, hey, your documents are ready. You can pick them up today or tomorrow. Otherwise, if you don't do that, we're going to mail them to you anyway. Okay? So that's good that they let you know that. And I've had this happen where I know that I'm going to go up to Sacramento on a day. So let's just say they call me on Tuesday. Hey, pick them up Tuesday or Wednesday, or we're gonna mail them. But I know I'm gonna be up there on Thursday because I have another guy. I'm gonna be processing their documents. I'm gonna be dropping them off on Thursday. Well, I don't want to go up, make another trip up there. So this is about time management, right? So you go, okay, no problem. You tell the secretary, say, hey, I'm gonna pick it up on Thursday, and just for those that are in California, you only can pick up documents between 2 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. every day. So that means you have to coordinate your time very well, okay? Because you obviously you have other things going on, so you can't sit there and go, oh, okay, I'm just, when they call, okay, I'm going to drive up there right now, because you could have an appointment. Or you might be scheduled out that far, so you have to let them know, hey, don't mail my document. I'm going to be at this time. They will make a note on your document. They're going to pick up on this date. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I go up there Thursday, pick up the document, drop out the other one, and I save time. But if somebody said, let's just say somebody says, hey, I want you to do this. I want you to pick up my document as soon as it's ready. Say, no problem, I can do that. I will schedule it in. And you kind of, it's hard to schedule in. So I kind of try and figure out when they're going to call based on the schedule. Try and get a good idea. Like, okay, I drop it off on Monday. They might call me next Monday, let's say. Okay, so I'm kind of, okay, let me figure out next Monday, I'm going to plan on that, okay? But they might call on Friday. Let's say they call on Friday. Well, okay, they call on Friday. I'm going to come up on Monday, because I already have something scheduled. But I charge them to drive up there, okay? So I charge $100 to drive up there again and pick it up, okay? And sometimes people go for it, and sometimes they're like, no, just mail it back. Because really, if it takes 10 days, and let's just say it takes 5 days to process the document, it's like, why not just have it mailed, So it's going to be a couple extra days. You can save $100, But if they're like, I need this tomorrow, then you say, no problem. I'm gonna drop it off as fast as I can, and I will pick it up as fast as I can. But you're gonna be paying this dollar amount, okay? Or you charge more if you have to drop everything and do it, So whatever you're gonna do. But so those are the 3 levels that I have. So mail, standard, and expedited. And expedited in the sense that I'm going up to pick it up again. Before COVID, it was expedited was meant I'm going to drive up there the same day I get the document, and I'm going to process it and return it to you the same day. Okay, that's expedited. That was expedited before the times we live in right now. Okay, but now it's not that way, and it's a little more difficult to do expedited service. Okay. Even if you pay for next day air or FedEx or whatever, it still takes time for them to put that thing in the mail, okay? And I found that it's actually faster to not use FedEx, to use just regular priority mail to come back, especially if it's coming in California, okay? There's a whole set of things about that, because you have to determine what your Secretary of State will handle if they'll process what carriers they work with and so forth. Okay, I haven't looked that up, and you should look that up. I use priority mail, and it comes just as fast as the FedEx, because I actually did FedEx one time. This guy needed it right away. I said, okay, no problem. You pay FedEx next day air. They will process it, put it in the envelope, and ship it off. You'll get it the next day. Well, it didn't come the next day. Because why? Because I don't know when they dropped it off to FedEx. I mean, FedEx obviously delivered it the next day, but if the Secretary of State drops it in their carrier or gives it to their carrier a day or 2 days later, then it's not next day, right? Okay, because they're doing stuff from home, so they won't tell you this, but they're processing these documents. A lot of their people are working from home, processing these documents, and then they return them to the Secretary of State, that then will put it in the mail or FedEx or whatever. So just be aware of that. So those are my tidbits. There's a lot in this work, and that's why I'm referring you to Judi Lawrence and Matt Miller's book, because they go through a lot of things that are specific to that work and to this work, and they have more experience than even myself. I've only been doing it for a couple years now, and I'm not. And again, I'm only processing mostly documents here in California. I have done some out-of-state documents, but usually when that happens, I have used somebody that does Apostille Work here that I've learned from at the Notary Symposium, and you know, she does a great job getting the documents processed, and you can do that, you know. But when you use one of those people, just note that they're taking a big chunk of your profit. So you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to make $25 on this one or whatever, and you're like, okay, well, at least I got the job done for the person and made a little bit of money, you know. So you just have to be aware of that when you deal with facilitators or people that are handling the documents for you. They're taking their cut, and they're passed. You know, you have to obviously pass that on to your client. You know, but if you price yourself out of the business, then you're out of business, right? So just keep that in mind. So you have to, one of the things that I need to work on myself is building value, creating value, what you're providing for the customer. I'm gonna throw something totally out of the Apostille Work. I know that I'm talking about Apostille Work, but since I do fingerprinting, one of the things that I'm going to share with this is how can I build value in fingerprinting when there's not a million, I'm exaggerating, but there's many people that do fingerprinting in my area. So why would they want to go with me versus go to the UPS store or go to somebody else? It's the same thing with notary work, right? Why do they want to go with me? Well, in fingerprinting, for example, I have my rolling fee. So my rolling fee is $36 or whatever it is, you know. But what I do to get people to go with me versus going to the UPS store is I'll say, hey, if you're in my local area, my city, for example, I will drive to you at no additional cost and take your fingerprints, okay? So I'm adding value to the service, so they don't have to go stand in line at the UPS store and hope that the fingerprint technician is there, you know, because sometimes they're not there, and you're like, okay, I can't get my fingerprints. I just drove down here, stood in line to find out that there was nobody here to help me. And the same thing with the notary, right? So create that value. Now, if somebody calls and says, hey, I'm an hour away from you and I want to do fingerprints. Well, am I going to go drive that hour for $36? No, I'm not. Okay, so I'm going to tack on a travel fee on top of that. But for my local people, you know, to get them to go to me versus my competitor in my city, I'm going to say, hey, I will come to you and fingerprint you. And I even go as far as, hey, if you have multiple people, I'll give a little discount on my rolling fee, you know, because it's a lot easier when you're doing 10 people, for example, and it's all the same 10 people, the same form. You could whip them out easily in an hour. And you're like, well, okay. So instead of making, you know, let's just say I drop it to $30 a person, you know? Okay, so for 10 people, that's $300, okay? So would I rather get $300 in an hour, or would I and build that relationship, because they'll call me again, because I've had this happen where I did a whole construction crew that they have to be fingerprinted every time they go to a new school, okay, because you have to be fingerprinted here in California when you do any work on a public school. So they call me again, hey, can you come and fingerprint us? No problem. Go over there and I charge them whatever, and I give a discount, you know. You know, but if you're like, okay, no, my rolling fee is $36 no matter what, you know, I'm gonna go out there. Okay, so I go out there, and so I'm gonna make $60 more, right? I'm gonna $60 more. Okay, yeah, $60 is some money, yeah, okay. But are they gonna call you again? You know, and I'm not saying to discount your fees just to say, hey, discount, you know, because everybody's looking for a discount. I'm not about discounting all the time. But what I want to create is I want to create the return customer. Okay, so I want that person to say, hey, you're my notary, you're my fingerprint technician. We want you to come to us every time we have a situation when we need help. We want to be able to call you and say, yes, I can come out there at this date, this time. We don't want to search for a new guy every time, okay? But you don't want to be priced in a realm where they feel that you took advantage of them, okay? If that makes sense. So if I just happen to know that in my area, I'm expensive. There's people that charge $25 for a rolling fee, okay? But you're gonna have to go to them, right? They're not going to come to you. They're gonna charge a travel fee. So my thought is, hey, I'll just charge a little bit more, but include the travel if they want me to go to them. If they want to come to me, fine. Then that means that I'm just sitting at my house on my porch, and I can take their fingerprints, no problem, you know. So, you know, you have to think about those things, you know. And that's the same thing with all your business side hustles or your services that you provide. Are you know, for the Apostille Work, for example, is the guy gonna come to you, or is he gonna be like, man, you just charged me $1,000 to process, you know, these 5 documents, and that, you know, that is just way over my budget. I don't see value in paying that dollar amount, okay? But if they went to if they go to the other guy, does the same service, and he's like, well, hey, I'm charging you, you know, I'm charging $800. be like, oh, great, I want $800. I'm going to pay $800. Okay? But what gives you that $200 advantage, right? So you have to think about that. Is it because you're going to go out and pick up the documents from the guy versus for $800 he had to drive the documents to this other guy? I don't know, you know? So you have to think about those things, how to add value when you price yourself, okay? So that's kind of my little pricing spiel, I guess. I'm here in Sacramento. I'm coming up to the Secretary of State now, so maybe I'll do a little video, a little hidden video in there showing the process. Oh man, maybe I shouldn't show the process. I don't want the public to know how easy it is for me to make money. Okay, I'm gonna end the video, and if you like it, like it. If you don't, then don't. But if you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comments, or you can reach out to me directly via my email, website. I'm on Clubhouse too, if you want to check me there. However you want to communicate, you can give me a call even, and I'll talk to you, no problem. So have a great day, and go make some money with Apostille Work.